Welcome back everyone to my Let's Play of Final Fantasy II on the Wii Virtual Console. It's time for our party to head down into the lunar subterrane, try to find FuSoYa and Golbez, who went down into the terrain to confront Zemus, the Lunarian who wanted to destroy the world and basically give it to the Lunarians. So, they went down there a long time ago, haven't heard back from them, so we're obviously a little bit worried about them. So, let's go down and see if we can find them. After all, Golbez is Rupes' brother. He's family, so even though they were enemies for so long, you know, you gotta take care of your family, I guess. We have a lot of stuff to take care of in these subterranes. There's a lot of secret passages, and they pretty much all lead to really important weapons and armor. Like the one Crystal said, weapons that were dangerous to the Lunarians are sealed down here. So we're gonna get really good equipment for all our characters. I'll point out the stuff that you know, what it does as I pick it up. But gotta get good weapons and good armor. And first thing I'm gonna pick up is some good armor. And most of these treasure chests that have the good stuff in them are gonna be guarded by monsters. So a lot of monsters we've already seen, but quite a few new monsters as well. So the new ones, of course, I'll point out ways to defeat them. So, the red giants, remember you can always use the weak spell, Georgie's weak spell on them to take them out. Nell can equip the fairy claw, and that'll help deal extra damage to the giant types. So we'll remove that thunder and put on the charm claw. It's a fairy claw in other versions, but put on the charm claw. That'll give him extra damage against the red giants, because they are considered a giant type enemy. If you still have the ogre axe, you can use that on Rupes or Jarvis to give them a little bit of extra damage, but I prefer the weapons they have right now are good enough. And Georgie's giving me another spell, Fatal. Only 2 more spells to learn. The nuke spell, which is a really powerful, like, hit one enemy for massive damage, and then the Meteor spell, which is a spell that does massive damage to all enemies. We saw Meteor already, but Teller did not get the, that was one of the 3 spells he did not get, the nuke spell, the Fatal spell, and the Quake spell. Georgie has gotten that. At level 60, Georgie will get the Meteor spell, so eventually I will grind up to level 60 just to get that spell, but the enemies here give a lot of good experience, so I may just get it naturally just wandering around here. We'll head through this little teleporter here, and work our way around. See a lot of chests basically in the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of places that look like dead ends, but on the TV screen that I'm using, you can see where the passages are. And if you look closely, you can see where a wall doesn't, it leads to a passage, doesn't necessarily lead to a dead end, because there's like a little chunk taken out of the wall. Actually a little clue that there's more beyond that wall, what looks like a dead end. So, to help heal ourselves up, we can use the Sylph. Just don't use it on the carries. Carries have really good magic defense. So summons, a lot of black magic will basically do 1 damage to them. But the Warlocks, they're pretty easy to steal a lot of hit points from. So, like I said, if you really want to cheat, you can put the Sylph summon in the upper right. And that way, it'll always be free. And let's use our mute arrows here. We only got 6 of them. And they will do extra damage against the Warlock. And they're good against the magic users. And as a bonus, they silence. You want to leave the Warlock for last, because if you leave the carry by herself, what ends up happening is she uses an ability called Hug that can turn your character into a stone statue in 1 hit. So it's better to keep finish the carries off and then have the Warlock be the last. So we got a life staff there. You can use that. It increases Lily's will. It makes her a little bit of a better better white magician. But I actually got a better staff. I ended up getting that silent staff in the land of summoned monsters. One of the conjurers dropped it, so that's actually the best staff in the game. So, surprisingly, most of these equipment isn't really the best stuff in the game. There are some pieces of equipment that can only be found by drops from enemies in this area. But if you don't really want to farm, most of the equipment here is, you know, if worse than what can be found in drops, only slightly worse. So you don't have to farm any excessive equipment. And I won't be doing that, you know, for this run. So here's our first little boss. It guards the Mirasame, which is a ninja sword for Nell. Now, she will equip that when there's an enemy that doesn't have an elemental weakness to exploit with one of the claws. So, and as long as she has the full moon boomerang in the other hand, the sword will not have be affected by back row damage. So the Pale Dim here basically counters everything you throw at it with the slow spell, which isn't too bad. You can counter the slow again with fast, and we'll remove the slow status, but he's doing it so often that there's no really point in doing it. He's not a very dangerous enemy. The most dangerous thing he does is he counters summons with the Quake spell. So that's why I have Lily cast Float before the battle, so that way we just avoid that massive counterattack. And we got to see the Bahamut summon there. Does massive damage. It's basically like a multi-target nuke. So, this guy's a palette swap of the Dark Elf Dragon back when we got the Crystal of Oath. But unfortunately, this one was coded correctly and has the boss resistance to the weak spell, so we can't choose it like we did that dragon, Dark Elf Dragon. And we finish it off, get a lot of experience, and we get the Mirasame. And the other sword that we'll get is the Mazmune. Once we get the Mazmune and the Mirasame, we can give them both to Nell, and then we can kind of pull Nell up to the front row. The Mazmune is a little bit stronger, but the Mirasame is a second best weapon. It gives some agility boosts, so that helps Nell with her offense. Now we could use the warp spell to get back, or just do exit, but like I said, I'm trying to get to level 60 for Georgie. She unfortunately levels slow, so it might take a while, but it's always good to, you know, get this experience and hopefully gain the levels and not have to grind. So we head back to the entrance here, and now we're just going to head to the only direction we didn't go, and that is to the south. We're going to start getting some really good equipment for Jarvis. But start getting defensive gear from him. The Dragoon equipment. One of the Dragoon equipment pieces, though, is actually going to go on Rupes. And I'll explain why once that happens. We get a Flame Whip there. That is if you're using a physical attack build for Georgie. That whip does fire damage. Doesn't suffer from back row penalties. So, it's the best normal whip you can find in the game. There is a better whip that you can get from a Dragon Drop from the Blue Dragons. And that's the Dragon whip, and that does extra damage to dragons. It's effective against them. So, then we get the Dragoon Shield. We're going to get a whole bunch of Dragoon gear, basically everything, for Jarvis. And the Dragoon gear is good because it basically gives elemental, it cuts elemental damage from fire, lightning, and ice in half. Now because resistances don't like stack. Like the helmet gives it, the shield gives it, the body armor will give it, and the arms will give it. We're end up going to end up giving the Dragoon gauntlets to Rupes, because then that'll give him the elemental protection. Because Jarvis don't need those gloves. There's some really good rings you can pick up, like crystal rings. That would probably be the best thing to throw on his arms for all the characters, but like I said, that's just a rare drop. But so we're just going to give Rupes the thing. He's going to get a bunch of gear called the crystal gear that will basically prevent a lot of different status effects from happening to him, as opposed to giving protection from elements. So the status protection we'll get from his gear, and then we'll get the element protection from that Dragoon thing. So I'm going to warp out of here, just to come back and I went back inside, healed myself up with the 2 pots. And now I'm ready to make a second trip down into the lunar subterrane. I was getting a little low on magic, and like I said, though, as we gain levels, though, we'll get a little bit stronger, and we won't necessarily need to retreat. That'll probably be the only time I'll have to retreat in this dungeon, because a little bit further down from where we left, where we stopped there will be a save point. And it's just, it's basically your last save point in the game, because it's right before you get to the core. Like I said, this dungeon is made of 2 parts. We have the lunar subterrane here, and then we have the lunar core. So the very basement is where the save point is. There's also another save point, but a few floors up, but we're actually going to skip that save point because it requires some backtracking. So we're going to just make a shot down for the save point at the bottom. The dragon gear also is the dragoon gear. I mean, it's also it helps protect against dragon attacks, and we're going to be running into a lot of dragons coming up. So we have those Ging Ryus, King Ryus. We have blue dragons, red dragons, dragon bones. So a ton of different dragons. So the dragoon gear is going to be really, really good. It has the Artemis arrows that we're going to find in this treasure chest. You can steal the Artemis arrows for free from the carry monster. The carry monster can also has 2 good drops. It has the Artemis bow, which is the best bow in the game. If you're using a bow and arrow build for Lily. And they also drop the heroine robe. We're going to find a heroine robe later on in that treasure chest. That's a pretty good robe if you're using either Georgie or Lily as a fighter. So if you had Georgie with the build, like the whip build, with that fire brute whip, or even with the dragoon whip, that's good because what it does is it adds 15 strength, stamina, and agility, which are all important for melee characters. The problem is it minuses 15 through your wisdom and will, and that's bad for somebody who's relying on Georgie right now to basically hit things hard with her spells, because the hit to the int will lower the damage that she does with a spell, and also your wisdom and will added together, divided by 32, determines the magic defense multiplier. So minus 15 from both those stats, that's almost minusing an entire magic defense multiplier. So it will make you weaker to magic attacks. So it's not really good for either of them. There is going to be an example where we will use the heroine robe though on Lily, because we're going to want to increase her damage output. We got another one of those time bosses coming up that we have to defeat really quickly, or else we are just instantly defeated. We'll see that next episode. It guards one of Jarvis's second best weapon. Now, it's his best weapon in terms of pure attack power. It's a holy spear, but it's not necessarily the best weapon because there's a weapon drop that you can get. The dragoon spear, and that while it does less damage against most enemies, it will guarantee that Jarvis will do 9,999 damage on dragon type enemies. So that's a really good weapon to get. Two enemies drop it. That's the ultra rare drop from blue dragons. Their rare drop is the Dragon Whip, which would go good on Georgie if you want to hunt dragons. And it's the rare drop from the red dragons. Their ultra rare drop is the Crystal Ring that I kind of mentioned earlier. That's pretty good for defense. But that behemoth was guarding Stardust Rod. It'll give Georgie another 5 wisdom. Compared to the Charm Rod. It can be used in battle as an item and it casts the Comet spell, which is basically that spell that the twins use with their twin magic. But that's pretty weak at this point in the game, so never really going to use it for that. We're going to mainly use it for the wisdom increase. So take care, have a good one, see you in the next episode. Bye!